Hello and welcome to World Creativity Day, a global festival of creativity happening on the 21st and the 22nd of April 2021. My name is ICHK and I am the local leader for London. And we are bringing to you a bit of a warm-up for the event by speaking to local leaders around the world. And today I have the special honor of speaking with our local leader from Hong Kong, Phil Morgan. Phil, welcome.
Hi, Neeraj. Good to see you. How are you?
Good, thanks, Phil. How are you?
Yeah, bearing up. We've had some conversations back and forth during the week, so it's nice actually to have some time to chat with you.
Yeah, definitely. How are things going on with you in Hong Kong?
I couldn't be happier. I mean, there's so much going on with the organisation of World Creativity Day, and this week's been particularly interesting. Just bringing in and selecting from an array of extraordinary local creative talents who are willing and very enthusiastic to represent for Hong Kong for the event.
Great. So obviously we are bringing these conversations before the event to help the community learn a bit more about our leaders across the world. So I will be asking some questions so that the Hong Kong community gets to know a bit more about their local leader. Are you ready?
Yeah, fire away.
Great. Awesome. Phil, so tell us a bit about yourself. What do you do and why you're one of the leaders for World Creativity Day?
I do a lot of different things. I've been an educator most of my life, and I currently work as Director of Creativity for International College Hong Kong. And it's an unusual role in a highly progressive school, which means that I spend quite a lot of my time developing progressive curricula. I do a lot of work with gamification for learning. And I'm really fascinated in ways in which pedagogy moves forward and away from some of the sort of the classical models of rote learning, the desks in the row, the student who sits there like this and just ingests content. So I'm really interested in, well, how can we educate better? I don't think I was particularly well served by education, which is why I became a teacher in the first place, to try and do it differently. So that's part of what I do, but I also facilitate. I was particularly struck by Sir Ken Robinson's landmark speech, "Do Schools Kill Creativity?" And when I first saw that TED talk, it's beyond 10 years ago now, I just went, yes, they do. And I understood exactly what he was talking about, and I was like, where do I sign up, please? I wanted to be one of Ken Robinson's foot soldiers, and that's what I've tried to turn myself into. But by learning more about creativity itself, studying creativity seriously. And I think I've accomplished some of that. So I'm really fascinated by things that, the processes by which aha moments are caused. You know, when the penny drops, the light bulb lights, how do you help that happen? That's really my absolute burning passion. So I do some work out of education with education for artists. I do some work in a gallery with younger learners, younger artists. And I also do a little bit of corporate work here and there for companies and organizations that want to learn to think outside that particular box. So yeah.
Great. That's great to know, Phil. Obviously, you want to give back to the community what maybe you didn't receive growing up in terms of the kind of creativity education that you're currently trying to spread. So could you tell us a bit about what role does creativity play in your role or roles and in your life in general?
I can't imagine not being creative. I can't imagine not being able to have the time and space to make something. And I'm at my happiest when I fall into the flow states that are so important. So there's always something being made or thought about or designed or improved upon. And it's that sort of creative ability that I want to imbue in the people that I work with, because I keep coming across people who go, no, I'm not creative. And that is a particularly sad occasion, and one that I think is completely unnecessary, because creativity is a fundamentally, innately human capacity. And one of the best ways to hamstring that is to go, no, I'm not that. So one of the first things that I like to do is help people reframe that and go, well, actually, you are, you're just afraid of it, perhaps, or you've been told that you shouldn't be doing that, or you did it once and it didn't go very well and you were condemned for that. It's all about, a lot of it's about creative confidence, I think.
And obviously you are trying to change a lot of that through your work to give people more creative confidence, and helping them just be comfortable with learning to think differently.
Absolutely.
What kind of, I mean, obviously that's a very difficult task, as we all know. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced in terms of trying to foster creativity with the people you work or the people you live with? And what kind of things do you think, what kind of suggestions you might have for people facing those challenges themselves?
That's a great question, Niraj. I think that if there is one thing that hampers creative thought in education in particular, is the system that punishes failure and rewards safety. If I had to pick one thing that is utterly critical for creative thought, it is the individual's individual tolerance for risk. And if you're able to take a risk, then creativity can happen. And if you adamantly refuse and you say, I must remain safe, I must remain beyond criticism, I must do everything that everybody expects me to do and do it perfectly, then immediately you're in a state that is never going to promote creative thought. You're going through the motions to a predetermined goal. Going beyond that, though, in current systems of education in particular, where failure is the worst thing that can happen to you, is antithetical to creative thought. So what we have to do, I think, in education is to create, not, I've heard the expression like the fail-safe organizations. And that's okay, that was okay as a starting point. But what we need is something slightly stronger. We need safe to fail, or encouragement to fail, actually reward for failure, and an understanding that when you get something wrong, that is a golden opportunity to learn. So yeah, I think risk is the if I had to rank creative behaviors in order, I would say your capacity for risk is probably the most important.
And I think that goes so against our survival instinct, isn't it? Like if you see a snake in the forest, your instinct is not to run towards it, but to run away from it because it's risky to do so. And I guess we've kind of adopted those same habits, even though we're not living, in the forests anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. There has to be an appetite for. I mean, there's risk taking, which is jumping off a cliff onto a rusty spike. That's not risk taking. That's reckless endangerment of yourself, as is approaching them and prodding the snake that's going to just like rear up and get you. But risk that is tolerable and intelligent to take because it will help move your learning forward, I don't think that has been broadly enough understood for a very long time. Probably not since the institution of our contemporary system of education.
And why do you think that is? Why do you think we haven't taught people to be okay with risk, to be comfortable with risk? Obviously, organizations are designed to be efficient and get results as cheaply and as quickly as possible. And, there's this whole departments built just to manage and limit risk, right?
Well, this goes back to Ken Robinson. This is the difference between the industrial model of education and the agricultural model of education. Industrial education trains you to be a small cog in a very large machine that is compliant, that is quite good at quite a narrow range of skills, that has learned to sit down obediently for 8 hours at a time, and is relatively, well, not, if not content, then not rebelling. On the other side, you have the agricultural model, where you have the individual placed in an environment where they are nurtured to grow. And I think right now we have a foot in both camps, because what I see is, particularly during this year, there are very, very strong forces that would like things to return back to normal as quickly as possible, so they can keep reducing the desks, and they can keep us in rows and keep us in classes and keep us in line. At the same time, education has shifted, whether they like it or not, to something much more flexible, virtual, and for some students, not all, that's worked very well. And I think organizations can feel the ground shaking underneath their feet slightly this year, as the return to the new normal. Well, quite what will the ramifications that be? I think we've been approaching a tipping point in education for quite a while, and I actually sincerely hope this is it.
So that brings me to another question. Obviously, Hong Kong, and you are representing Hong Kong in the World Creativity Day. What's the state of creativity in Hong Kong at the moment?
Hong Kong is wildly creative, but much of the creativity you don't necessarily see. There is a vast amount of creative thought. There is a very, very skilled community, very talented people here, and I think under certain circumstances, that creativity can be seen to flourish. Long may that continue.
Mm-hmm. And what message would you like to give to the creative community in Hong Kong with regards to the World Creativity Day?
When you have access to the app, come log in and explore the world of creative thinking, not just in Hong Kong, but overseas. There will be a huge amount of expertise and knowledge that you can access globally, and I'd encourage you to explore that. But more than that, I would encourage Hong Kongers to view this as a starting point. This is the first year that Hong Kong has been involved, and I'm so happy with the way that we're going to be represented this year. We have a really broad demographic. We have people from all walks of life, people from all language bases, genders. It's a really, really diverse bunch, with tremendous expertise. And I'm so happy that they've been willing to join us in what is our inaugural year. I'd encourage Hong Kong to watch, to be involved, and next year look to what we can do with, hopefully, towards post-COVID, become involved in something hybrid or real world, and let's make a physical event out of this and a virtual event, and we can do this with all the creators involved. I am super excited to meet as many the Hong Kong creatives that I haven't met yet. So yeah, wait the free flags as high as you can.
Great. So Phil, what have you been doing as a local leader for Hong Kong so far? Like what's taken a lot of your time so far?
It's been fascinating, actually. It's been a very, very busy week of intense conversations with design thinkers, philosophers, academics, artists, photographers, educators, talking about what it is that they might want to do, what they intend to do, and helping people navigate the systems to join World Creativity Day. That's kept me pretty busy this week. But it's incredibly rewarding for me to connect to and be able to encourage people to join in an event like this.
Great. And what's the thing that you're most excited about for this year's World Creativity Day?
I'm curious to see the aftermath of World Creativity Day. I'm curious. I'm always curious to see what is incited because of the actions of our inspirers. So I think for me, the excitement will come a little while after the event, when people go, hey, I saw this thing done by that guy and that made me think of this. And then I went away and did that. And it's because of events like this. As I say, I sort of describe myself half jokingly as a light bulb engineer, as are all inspirers. And so I'm really, really interested to see not just like the ripples that kind of fall out of this in terms of other people's own creativity, but also the kind of the ripples that fall out in terms of, well, the people who connect because of this and because of that, and the beginnings of the evolution of what will be hopefully a global community of people who like to just go sideways when everybody else just goes straight forward.
And obviously, it's great to see local leaders from so many cities around the world coming together and putting their part into this and bringing this global festival, which personally I've never really seen before, at this scale. And that's something that I'm super excited about as well, in terms of meeting, amazing creative talent like yourself from Hong Kong and from all around the world. And I think that's what creativity is all about, about people coming together and collaborating, sharing ideas, not being afraid, like you said, not being afraid of failure. For example, as local leaders, we are comfortable with the ambiguity that comes from being a leader. We might not hear from people that you're trying to get in touch with, right? Or sometimes you might not, things might not go ahead as planned as you initially hoped to, but that's okay, right?
Yeah.
That might lead on to something else.
Absolutely right. When the opportunity to lead locally came across my desk, I was like, oh, that sounds so tempting. I really want to do it. I really want to do it. But can I do it? Can we pull this off? Can we make it happen? And I had to kind of sort of take my own medicine a little bit and go, well, really, are you willing to take the risk for this potentially not to work? Can we get it together? And thankfully, so far, so good.
Great.
Yeah, there's that element in risk in everything that we do, and here we are, like the local leaders are under excellent guidance, creating something. We're currently co-creating the community. It's like meta creativity, and nothing could be more rewarding than that.
Yeah. In terms of talking about creation, I'm sure a lot of our people in the audience might be interested to see like what you've got on your wall behind you. You've got a lot of things that you've created that you stuck on the wall.
Oh gosh, my study is like the outpourings of my brain. It's a complete mess. I'll spin this around quickly. This is the sort of a bunch of ideas that I'm currently working on. There's the most recent thing that I've been playing around with is this. It's a hacked Rubik's Cube. It's called Incubate, and it's a brute thinking engine. By lining up the icons, it helps people smash unrelated ideas together and get new ideas. An A plus B equals C sort of creativity. The term brute thinking was coined by Michael Michalko, author of Thinker Toys, who I have a huge admiration for. And I thought I would create a toy that is in anyone's hand, can help people put ideas together. So I spend quite a lot of time making tools and toys that help people think a little bit more in those directions.
Great. And do you use that particularly within people in Hong Kong that you currently work with, or do you also use those tools that you've developed like globally?
I use it myself when I need to shake a new idea loose. But I've used it with students. I've used it with corporates. I've used it with I've used it with bunches of artists. And yeah, it's just any other way to like shake new ideas loose. It's another kind of light bulb inducing technique. So yeah, I spend quite a lot of time playing around with things like that.
Great.
Oh, wrong side. That came from this kind of circular thing behind me that didn't work very well. There's wrong side. There's a failure behind me, and I keep that there because it's a failure.
Great. So did you have any final thoughts or any final messages for your community to give before we end this chat?
Come and join in. Come and see what's out there. Come and meet the people in Hong Kong who are extremely creative people, and they want to forge communities, and they want to meet creative people like you. And over time, hopefully, if enough of us come together, this time next year, we'll be talking about something that is a little bit larger and hopefully real world. And come join. We're dying to meet you. We're dying for you to be involved. And I really sincerely hope this is a starting point for something fantastic for us.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time, Phil. I'm really excited to see what Hong Kong has in store for us and all the creative talent that we'll get to hear from and learn from. So watch this space. We will be speaking to quite a few other local leaders from other cities around the world. But for now, thank you very much, Phil. And thank you, everyone, joining us. Until next time, have a great day, evening, and night, wherever you are.
Thank you, Neerish. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.